So the aim of the navigation menu is to provide a full complement of styling configurations available for each of the menu elements. So we're going to take a look at how the various CSS is configured and used for the navigation response. So here we're looking at a desktop size menu and its hover links. Here we see a mobile size menu. Now what we see is the menu icon appears at the mobile menu width, and when we hover on it, it has a completely different hover style. What we're looking at is the effects of various CSS on the menu overall. Although the system does use JavaScript when we click on the menu icon to open the menu or close the menu by adding and removing particular class names. So notice here at full screen width, the menu is appearing below this logo image. Then when we go to the menu icon widths, we see the menu icon itself is now at the top right corner, and when we open it, the menu itself is also in the top right corner. So we'll begin by looking at how we position that menu icon width. If we go to the edit pages, we see there are three main choices for styling and configuration of a menu. And then down below, if we wanted to add or remove a link for the particular menu, we can do it here under Add, Remove, and Edit Links. But we begin by taking a look at this choice, Style Customize at Menu Icon Widths. Menu icon width, the width at which a menu icon is used, that's determined right here. Under the Select Menu Icon Display Viewport Width option, so we add the value that we want. By default, it's 768 px. So basically we're looking at the styling and configuration options available on viewport widths less than 768, and we can change that value as required. By using absolute positioning at menu icon widths, we used a post level positioning setting to completely remove the post from the original context of the parent column, and then place the whole post, the entire menu in this case, wherever we want. But first, because the menu has a certain width, place the menu icon itself within the menu to the right. So the first thing we're going to do is go under the positioning of the menu icon option, position the menu icon to the right by choosing right here. And for elements within the post, we can look under Style Info and find out what we're actually styling. In this case, it would be Show Icon class element within this post when the main division does not have the icon open class. Now, if we were positioning relative, the second step, we might, if needed, set the width of the menu itself to 100% of the available width, so we could position it completely right or left within that space. By using absolute positioning, we don't need to do that. And because we position the menu icon to the right within the navigation post, when we position the whole post to the right, it should appear on the far right side. And conversely, for left, if we were doing it left, we would have retweaked it for left and then set the entire menu position to the left. And here in this third step now, we can go up to the main settings and do our absolute positioning for this menu. We see that we chose absolute. We saw that we chose a right positioning. So if we check our right position, we're at 4%. And here we chose top. And if we look, we also chose 4%. Now, remember, we want absolute positioning only at the media width screens of which the menu icon is appearing. And so that's what we chose right here. We chose a media width screen max width px of 768. There's also a choice to add additional media queries to tweak it at a different view screen width, but works the way that we want without additional settings. Now back under the Style, Enable, and Customize at Menu Icon Width under the Positioning of Menu Icon option. At the bottom, there's also two options. You can tweak the positioning of the open navigation menu, either right, left, top, bottom, completely independent upon where the menu icon was originally. And that includes the full menu, including the icon, or we can tweak the open nav icon itself to the left, to the right, independently of the open menu. So looking at it right now, we open the menu icon. We see that it's pretty much to the right. Let's say, although we want the menu icon to the right when it's closed, we want the menu on the left side of the page. We'll do that quickly here. And we'll do it for the menu with the icon now to the left instead of the right. Notice that no values were chosen. And this time we're just going to choose left 0. And we'll hit Submit. And then when we go ahead and we look at that again, refresh, open it up, we now see it's on the left. If we give it some values, it'll bring it off the left side, which is what we would want. And when we close it, it goes back to the right. So that pretty much covers menu and menu icon positioning. We're going to look at styling next. Now if we look at the styling of the menu itself, we see that The background is a gradient. When we hover on the links, we get a different styling effect. It's different than the one that we get when we look at the mobile mode. This one has like a 3D effect. So let's take a quick look at how we do these. If we go to the overall post styling and go to the background styling, we see it has a background image and there's also a background gradient. Currently the background image overrides the background gradient. So right now we're looking at the background image. Now we're not repeating the background image, but in this case we're using the image to fill 100% width and 100% height option. And this way, as the menu expands, it can have one row of links, 2 rows of links, or 3 rows of links if we wanted. The background image would expand appropriately. There were also other options, including a cover width and contain width. Now what we can do is we can turn off the background image, and then we're going to look at the gradient that we set up. So instead of using a background image, we can easily do the same thing with the gradient. And we chose a vertical gradient. And there's 6 different gradient layers. We can choose colors. And there are also choices for repeating, color stops, and so forth that we didn't choose. And for any color chosen, you can choose a opacity value. Here we chose 5 colors. The initial dark color and the final dark color, they were set to an opacity of 8%, and the 3 middle colors were at 100%. So we turned off the background image, we submit. And now instead of looking at the background image, we're looking at the gradient, which looks pretty similar. Now if we go to Style Customize at non-menu icon widths, here we can style the individual links. And this will include both the main menu links and any sub-menu links that we make. Here we can style these sub-links differently. And for the main links and sub-links, as well as their hover links, there's a list A styling, but there's also a list styling for added effects. If we go back to the main link settings, we see that the list A element of the menu has a padding top and bottom of 8px and then a margin top and bottom of 7px. So between the padding and the margins that we set up, we're now getting the space above and below the menu and between the 2 rows of menus, which is convenient for an automatic number of rows depending upon how many links we have. And we also gave it a font size and a font color and the padding left and right. And so to style the hover link, all we needed to do was go to the list A element and style the background slightly differently. We also changed the font color. We created a text shadow and we created the borders. And what this did was enables the link to appear less boxy when it's hovered on, because it's only styling the padding top and padding bottom and not styling the margins themselves when we hover on it. Now we had a totally different effect for the link styling at menu icon widths. We go down to the third option. The menu icon styling is completely independent of the styling at the non-menu icon width. So we'll take a look at those changes. That gave us a different 3D hover effect and different styling at the menu icon widths. First we look at the normal settings, not the hover settings. Now when we originally made the styles for the list A at menu icon widths, instead of recreating them all from scratch, we used a feature called the clipboard feature, which allowed us to take the styles that were already made from the list A styling we made for the individual link at non-menu icon width. And then we just needed to make a couple of modifications to that. So we're going to just go ahead and demonstrate that now. So we'll go back to Style Customize at non-icon menu widths, down to individual links, link A styles, and then down at the bottom we see import and export styles. There's lots of different options for exporting and importing between the various posts. We're going to use the clipboard because it allows us to export from any element to any element, regardless of whether it's a post type, column type, or page type, which includes elements within the same post. So we're going to go ahead and use that one. We're going to check here. So this entire style grouping will go to the clipboard. Then we go to the menu icon widths, back to the link A element, and then we also go to the import export options. And here we paste it in. We want to paste what we copied to the clipboard. We want to paste it here to this particular style grouping at the menu icon widths. And so all we need to do is type in paste and then we submit. And it'll completely replace the styles for this style grouping. Here we don't need the extra space between the rows of links at the non-menu icon width. So to remove them, we go to the margin settings, Quickest way to do that is to check the Use Margin Top 0 option, which explicitly states margin top 0. We'll go ahead and do that. If we put the value of 0 in up here, it just wouldn't express any margin, which would work just as well. I'm going to go to the bottom margin and do the same thing. We're also going to go to margin left, and we're going to give it a margin of 10px. Okay, and then we're going to submit those changes. Okay, we see it pretty much looks similar to the way it did before. So what we did there was we moved the margins, and that allowed the links to stack up closer together, which is what we wanted for the mobile mode menu look. Now to get this button type look, we also made a few style changes to the list element and the list hover elements. And for the menu list, you can now see the whitish border set for the top and the bottom of 1px. Now we want to go ahead and look at the hover links. If you look closely, when we hover on the link, you're going to see a bottom border. It's going to be dark, it's going to be 1px, and it's indented. And it gives a slight shadow effect. And that was made by using a hover list A element. Now previously we had styled the list A element with an indentation of 10px, and that was for all links. And that's why the hover list A style darkish border appears indented. We also styled the hover list element, making it a top, bottom, left, and right 2px whitish border. So the original list style for all links was 1px top and bottom, and so now when we hover on it, it goes top, bottom, left, and right, and it's twice as thick. So it makes it look like a little 3D button when we hover over it. And that's accomplished by differentially styling both the list and the list A elements. So we'll go back to our edit styles and just look at the remaining options under the Add Menu Icon option. Here under the Style Hover Links, we made the hover styles we just saw. Here we can style the Open Nav Link background. That'll be the entire visible menu background. And we can put in borders and background colors, etc. And here, once again, you can set the width at which the menu icon will appear. Or here you can make it permanent if you wanted. And when the menu icon is clicked, you can always display the submenus, or you can choose to hide them until the main link is clicked. Here you can specify the width of the entire open menu, add menu icon widths. Here you can specify the actual width of the menu icon itself, and you can change the menu icon hex color right here. Here's a choice for the type of menu animation that you get when you click the menu icon and then the menu opens. The first choice is for a height only, and it'll keep the icon stationary, whereas the other two choices are to animate from the right or left, and that will move the menu icon. And then finally, you can choose whether you're getting the typical one link per row as seen in mobile menus, or whether the links float next to one another. You can choose a left float or a center float. So that's about it for Add Menu Icon choices for styling. Now, instead of all the links being main menu links, let's say I wanted to have drop-down menu. We could take services offered here and testimonials and put it under the home page for a drop-down. So to do this, we go to Add, Remove, and Edit Links for the menu. So we have different options. Here's a go-to directory going to different links. We can choose a different menu, delete menus, rearrange. This is for rearranging the main menu. We'll go to the home page, and then we're going to add new submenu links. Down here we see a list of all the pages that have been created in the site, and we can check the ones that we want to add as a sublink under the home link page. We're going to go down and we're going to check services offered. We're going to check testimonials. Scroll down to services offered. We can check the delete, and then testimonials, and we'll check delete. We hit submit. Okay, well, there's our new menu. Our sublinks appear now when we hover on the home page. Now we could go back to rearrange our sublinks if we wanted. Instead, we'll look at how we can change that gray background cover on the hover menu panel for the sublinks. If we go back to Style Customize at Menu Icon Widths, and then Style Background for the submenu hover panel, we can change the background color, we can change the spacing, or any other styling change. And similarly to the At Menu Icon Widths choices we saw, there's a vertical choice, there's a float left or float center. You can hover the submenus or always display the submenus. Covers a quick introduction of the navigation menu on expressedit.org.